Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So I'm sure you're a lot like me. Whenever you come across a topic on the internet, the first thought in your mind is what does Pokimane have to say about this? And it's no different when it comes to gaming. Pokimane is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to gaming, and recently she's had a clip go viral where she's talking about the experience of female gamers, where she yearns, she pines for the good old days where female gamers had it so much better. And by better, I mean the times where people used to simp for people like Pokimane a lot harder than they are currently. Now, of course, the gaming industry would totally never have anything negative to say about men. Of course, that's ignoring the last 10 to 15 years of agenda pushing, where even the UN heard about how evil men are thanks to individuals like Anita Sarkeesian. You also ignore the fact that game developers, community managers, and alike have been routinely speaking about how much they hate not only gamers, but particularly male gamers, and even a step further, white male gamers. This also ignores the endless discourse on social media where people are blaming men for all of the problems in the gaming industry and related communities. And this sort of discussion goes on and on. It often blows up in the face of the people trying it, and that's exactly what we're dealing with today, involving Pokimane, who has come out and said how much things have changed for women in the last 10 to 15 years when it comes to gaming. And let's just hear the intro to this clip.
Earlier today, I did this random little TikTok where I was talking about how, hear me out. Do you guys remember like 15 years ago? I feel like 10, 15 years ago, if you were a girl gaming online, people were actually so nice to you. Like, so nice. They treated you so well. They would like gift you free stuff, all this stuff. Do you guys remember? But nowadays, I feel like girls are a little bit scared to game online or to use their mic or whatever. Mac, thank you for subbing. I just like, sometimes I think about these days and I'm like, I'm not hallucinating that, right?
I think a lot of people are absolutely exhausted hearing anything about gaming from Pokimane, the individual who just a few months ago made this rage bait tweet that she swiftly deleted, where she said, "I miss when streaming was about gaming, not just drama baiting and clip farming," which is literally her bread and butter. She does nothing but drama and rage bait and try to farm clips. Her entire ecosystem is sitting in front of a camera pretending to be some gamer girl, where in reality she doesn't actually play any games, while she sits there, talks a little bit to her chat, reacts to videos lazily, and then waits for her tier 3 simps to try to clip her as she tries to walk out of the room or something for their own creepy simp purposes. Stuff like that. I mean, the IRL section on Twitch was literally created because of people like Pokimane, because they were abusing the sort of tag of being a gamer or playing a certain game so much, they had to do something about it as a platform. Now, in that clip we just watched, she talks about the good old days. She is literally pining for the old era, 10 to 15 years ago, where being a girl and gaming online, people were so much nicer to you. She is yearning for the days where she could amass simps easier. That's literally what she's saying here. It was just easier back then. People gave her free stuff because she was a woman in the space, and that's what worked for her. And now, that's kind of dried up. That sort of gimmick doesn't really work anymore. And I guess she is yearning for the good old days. And it's pointed out here that, yeah, because 15 years ago, not every woman was making "I have a stalker" TikTok afterwards because someone left comments on their socials. Men learned from it. And now you are all getting manhandled like the rest. It's called equality. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's called equality. Nobody's throwing their money at Pokimane. They're throwing it at goofy lads like me, because it's really that simple. Just go out there and provide people the content they want. Don't sit there and be a massive hypocrite, constantly whining about it or saying, "Oh, the good old days, I used to get more out of people." Like, it's totally ridiculous to hear this from her. She just wants a return to a better time where she sat there and got absolutely showered in donations 24/7. But now she's resorted to even more rage baiting and trying to be this very stunning and brave individual with her political related tweets that absolutely drive people insane due to her lack of self-awareness or just knowledge about really anything. And on top of that, people are pointing out that why would Pokimane need free stuff? If you're a broke girl, just say so. And that, of course, is a calling to an old quote of hers where, confronted by viewers who didn't want to pay $28 a pack for her cookie brand, she said, if you're a broke boy, just say so. And this is the one who is trying to lecture you about how women are being treated in the gaming space when, of course, you're just a broke boy if you don't want to support her overpriced cookie brand, which, of course, has been falling apart over the past couple of months. But nevertheless, this whole claim about 10 to 15 years ago, and just now, as she said in the clip, she's noticing something is wrong here with the treatment of girls in gaming. She's been doing this every year for like a decade, okay? Here's a tweet from 2021 where she says, the hate that women receive within gaming has become so normalized, but we need to make it clear to our communities and platforms that it is absolutely not okay. Now you have to understand the context here. She was getting dragged by people on social media for, once again, stirring the pot, basically getting what she's asking for in terms of attention. And she makes this not about women, but instead about her getting criticized. And now she's trying to come out and say, hey, we need to stand up to this sort of behavior. It's very self-serving. And she's using this entire movement and message to really just protect herself, which that really shouldn't surprise you. Now, a lot of people hearing that good old era she's talking about from 10 to 15 years ago, and they think to themselves, like, how would Pokimane survive a good old-fashioned 2012 COD lobby? Ladies and gentlemen, I think she would have been just fine. If you look at the old clips of Pokimane, this one in particular, like, I can literally hear this gif, ladies and gentlemen. I think she would have fit in just fine in that environment. But hearing all of this from Pokimane is very ironic. She's trying to virtue signal about women in the gaming space. Meanwhile, we know full well she could not define what a woman is if you asked her, because her answer entirely hinges upon what the socially acceptable answer is currently in the LA streaming scene. She is a slave to that scene and a slave to whatever makes her the most money, and that's exactly what dictates her morals. And in this case, it's just ironic hearing her talk about women. But let's move on to the next part of the clip where she talks about misogyny.
But that's the thing, it makes me sad for maybe like younger women who just got into gaming and they think that this is just how it's been all the time. But that's not so much the case, I don't think. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always been some issues in relation to misogyny, but at one point it didn't feel so bad.
Now, it's very interesting hearing Pokimane talking about how she feels so sad for younger women because she believes that they're in this hostile environment that wasn't always this way, but it also always had issues with misogyny, and it's somehow gotten worse. She can't really articulate exactly how it's gotten worse, but I think all of this comes from a position of insecurity about this whole gamer girl type label she's always battled with. I mean, back in 2020, she had a whole meltdown because people were making fun of her as a gamer girl. Like, she tried to identify as that, and people are like, you don't even actually play anything. And then in response to that, she says nobody watches you at all. When someone said nobody watches you for your personality or gameplay, I think this screenshot from 2020 really captures the sort of attitude and sensitivity Pokimane has towards anyone trying to call her out for actual content she provides. And it's even more ironic when she argues about misogyny. It's like, what is misogyny to this individual? Because pretty much everything is, right? You post this rabbit clock meme, in her replies, you're getting a swift block, and she believes that you're a misogynist for pointing this out. And that's some of the quotes on the most recent stuff, saying she doesn't understand, she's expired goods, she's almost 30. Almost 30, it's all over, ladies and gentlemen. But again, this is the type of person who, even when asked by her friends if she's getting married, she views that as sexist.
Guys, I've got big news.
What?
Big
You're married?
Oh, listen, you need to... That's very sexist of you.
No,
That's such a bigoted question.
no. I would be like, if Skara said I got big news, I'd be like, you got married? You know, you got an anime girlfriend?
The way you hesitated 3 times tells me that is not the first question you would
My
ask
mom
him.
asked that too.
Exactly. Let's not repeat these cycles of abuse.
You know, some people out there will think that this is ironic. This is definitely not ironic. Pokimane is that insecure about her status And it just goes to show you, no matter how much money you have, no matter what you look like, it doesn't make people instantly fly into your life into a successful relationship that you can build off of. But of course, that waits to be seen with her neighbor. We'll look at those clips, those rage-baiting clips, in just a second. But she really asked the question, have we regressed? Well, I don't know. It seems like everything that we're talking about exemplifies regression, but not the way she's trying to speak about it. I mean, the whole question about marriage, and other streamers like her have been confronted with wanting to have a family, and they act like it's the most offensive thing they've ever heard in their lives. Well, that is a narrative being spread by the media, which I think has regressed even further, where a recent article, literally from 2 days ago, describes life as a trap that you can't escape, referring to women who become mothers. Like, they're trying to demonize motherhood. That's how low we have fallen, okay? And Pokimane, speaking of regression, has understood for a very long time, since 2020, thanks to this screenshot, that she understands why guys have an easier time relating to guys and girls to girls. And if a community is male-dominated, there's bound to be biases. But she hopes that we can learn to be both fair and empathetic regardless of this paradigm. So, number one, this shows that she's aware that gaming has always been a male-dominated space, so when you try to plant a flag in a space that you're normally not the most representative of, it's going to come with some sort of tension, but she is aware of this and has been complaining about it and using it to protect herself for many years. But the sort of empathy that she's trying to point towards in this regression, well, it's all over the media. Again, here is a tweet with 122,000 likes. Sabrina Carpenter at Lollapalooza having over 100,000 people call men useless. Pokimane herself saying that basically all the most attractive men are gay, which just really reflects, again, her own sort of agenda, her own discourse that she's always pushing to be the most progressive ever, while also being incredibly not that, ironically enough. But of course, throughout all the time of her gaming career, she has always recognized this idea in her mind that when women mess up, they're attacked in a different sort of a way than when a man messes up and a man is forgiven. Well, it's kind of ironic coming from her because she's part of the problem. I mean, she's one of the people running defense for Hassan Piker. So if you really believe men get away with everything in this industry, well, you let Hassan get away with everything. I mean, she had to last minute push back one of her podcast episodes featuring Hassan during the dog zapping campaign that she clearly doesn't care about. She doesn't care about his supporting of terrorist organizations, his threats, his advocacy for political violence. She doesn't care about any of that because, well, she needs him for whatever reason. Clout, friendship, what have you, bottom dollar, any of those things. That's why she ignores it in that context. She is literally part of the problem she has been describing. But the last part that we're going to look at today is rage baiting. And it is so ironic hearing this from her.
I do feel, though, that there's been rage bait for so long that I'm like tired a little bit, like I'm numb. I actually don't get baited as much because everybody knows that there's rage bait. Do you get what I mean? But I also think that that's unhealthy because it leads to a level of like apathy. Like we just don't care. Like we hear bad things and we don't care because we've been rage baited so much that we're just numb. Like whatever. I don't even know if that's true or not. DGAF.
As I already stated earlier, Pokimane is the queen of rage bait. This tweet, again, deleted from a few months ago, is the epitome of that, saying, I miss when streaming was about gaming, not just drama baiting and clip farming. Literally, the call is coming from inside the house. In fact, these days, Pokimane's Twitter simply exists to rage bait people. And that is evident with tweets from just last year, where she said, my brother got married, and then just made a thirst trap photo of herself. And you can see people's reaction to this. Like, it is so self-centered. And you have to almost think, like, this is intentional. There's no way she doesn't have just enough self-awareness to know she's rage baiting people. Especially with tweets like this saying, believe all victims. And of course, people back in 2025 were pointing out that, yeah, well, you also are someone who would make fun of Amber Heard. And now she is rewriting the script here, saying she regrets how she streamed the trial and made jokes at the expense of Amber Heard. Like, this is absolutely insane. She loved rage baiting so much that, well, she's tripping over herself. She can't even keep the narrative straight. And also, speaking of rage bait, she has been posting videos with her neighbor, totally not boyfriend, her neighbor, which of course is riling up a lot of people on social media. That's a whole nother thing. And then she made this as her most recent tweet. You know how this goes, right? She posts these silly photos. Everyone's just making fun of her. And that's pretty much how it goes. It's not even surprising whatsoever. But yeah, that is the situation with Pokimane. I hope you didn't rot too many brain cells seeing all of this, but that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.